everyone. Um, Today I'm starting the new series or project or one of them. Yay! Sorry, I'm a little out of it. I've been up since 6-ish. Um, I'm really tired and I'm in my pajamas and my hair is a mess, but I was bored and I didn't want to get ready. It's too early for that. So hi YouTube, you get to see me with no makeup and my PJs and bad hair. Yay! You're welcome. So this new project, I'm calling it Perfect Pairings because these are books that are from different time periods or genres, but really blend well together. So today I am doing Voyagers of the Titanic by Richard Davenport Hines and Wreck of the Titan or Futility by Morgan Robertson. Yeah, Robertson. I couldn't remember if it was Robinson or Robertson. My bad. Both of these books have a Titanic theme, hence the title of the episode. Sorry. So they go really, really well together. I'm going to start with Voyagers of the Titanic. A little bit of background on this. This was published in 2014 by William Morrow, which is an imprint of HarperCollins, and it is about, there's like an index in the back, and then there's a list. It is 312 pages, and there are pictures. There are pictures. Hey! Super good. This is nonfiction, and Wreck of the Titan is fiction. Hold on. Give me a sec. Sorry. I'm going to read the summary, and then I'm going to talk. Okay. While many accounts of the Titanic's voyage focus on the technical or mechanical aspects of why this ship sank, Voyagers of the Titanic follows the stories of the men, women, and children whose lives intersected on the vessel's fateful last day, covering the full range of first, second, and third class, from plutocrats and captains of industry to cobblers and tailors looking for a better life in America. Richard Davenport Hines delves into the fascinating lives of those who ate, drank, reveled, dreamed, and died aboard this mythic ship. With magnificent prose, Voyagers of the Titanic also brings to life the untold stories of the ship's middle and third classes, each of whom had a story that not only illuminates the ship, but also the times in which it sailed. The memory of this tragedy still remains a part of the American psyche, and this book brings us back to that clear night with all its drama and pathos. Yeah. So, a little bit about this book. The writing was hard to get into at first, because it's written by this old British guy. Yeah. Sorry, it sounds like someone's in my driveway. It's written by this old British guy, and it was like really smart writing. It had really great descriptions, but it was borderlining like Charles Dickens. You know, he takes like a whole paragraph to describe like a little thing. Yeah, that's kind of what it was bordering on, but it was still really good. It was a very interesting take on the sinking. It went over all of the technical parts of it, but it really focused on the passengers and the crew and their lives before, during, and after the sinking. And that was awesome. That's something that you never get to hear. And it wasn't just like one or two from each class. First of all, it went over all of the classes, which is amazing, but it had like 5, at least 5. This is 5. Congrats, Maddie. It had at least 5 from each class, and it dove into what their lives were, and it was just great. The book was very smart. I think I said that already. And I felt super immersed in the early 1900s. It not only talked about the ship, it talked about who was running for president at the time, who were the big, like, robber barons, which was about the time that this was happening, for the time period, who was who, what was happening in London, what was happening in New York, what would the passengers do when they were on land for entertainment, a normal day. It really felt like you were in the early 1900s. It was awesome. All right, enough about this one for now. Hold it upside down. Now we're going to do Wreck of the Titan. So, Wreck of the Titan was published in 1898 it's been published by a couple different companies. So, yeah, there's no real single publisher, but here's the summary. Oh, it was published 14 years before the Titanic sank. Little thing. A former sailor was a condemned was a former sailor was a condemnation of humanity's hubris. The story centered around an allegedly unsinkable ocean liner which ventures from the U.S. to England on its maiden voyage. When I read it, it didn't say it was its maiden voyage, but it was one of the first ones. I could have been misreading it, but a lot of people speculate that this book, like, predicted the sinking. I don't think it did. But at the time, sinking ships weren't uncommon. You think about how many ships sank at that time. It wasn't an uncommon thing. The thing about the Titan, though, the ship, it was very, very similar to the Titanic. It was state of the art. It was the fastest ship on the ocean at the time. Passengers had the best amenities that any ship hotel could offer. There weren't enough lifeboats, but that wasn't a big deal because it was unsinkable. It hit an iceberg on the starboard side. Yeah. There have been a couple of editions of this. It's a short story. It's in this edition it was 69 pages. There have been a couple of different editions. The editions after the Titanic sank, they adjusted the tonnage so it was even more similar. And there was also a little epilogue paragraph at the end, which wasn't there before. But yeah, it was eerily similar. Although the book didn't really focus as much on the sinking, like the ship sank. Yeah, but it was more focused on Reynolds, who is the disgraced sailor who was working aboard the Titan, and then it sank. And it really focused on him. At the beginning it focused on this one lady who was his former lover, and then it flipped to focus on him because he's kind of the hero of the story, and then it went into what his life was like after the sinking. So that was really cool. The writing was really difficult at first, simply because of the time it was written in. I say a lot. I am so sorry. The writing, like, it's English. It's obviously English, but, when I read, sometimes I can zone out a little and still get the story. You can't do that with this book or the other book because the writing, the word choice is just a little like, huh? But that's okay. Once I got used to it, it was like, wow, this is so cool, and I couldn't put it down. Okay, I covered everything for both books. So, these two books go together because Voyagers of the Titanic covers every angle before, during, and after the sinking. Like, nothing is overlooked. Excuse me, I had to burp. The Wreck of the Titan, really gives a look at what the sinking was like at the time. Right now we only can guess looking back. This was written during the time. So it was like, this is what was happening. This is what the passengers were feeling. This is what the crew was feeling. This is what the ship was looking like. And it was a time period thing. Like right now we have so many innovations with ships. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think the last cruise, this cruise transatlantic thing that sank was in 1991. So not Costa Concordia, that didn't sink, that hit a rock. But actually sank was in 1991. Everyone got off hours before, and it was fine. It wasn't fine, but whatever. But this was really like, oh, I have an email, sorry. This really gave a good look at what the sinking was like at the time, what was expected of ships. Like, they weren't expected to have enough lifeboats because the ships were unsinkable. There wasn't mass panic because they didn't know. They just didn't know what was going on. And it was, at the time, it was very appearance. Everything was very appearance oriented. And no one wanted to, first of all, admit that they made a mistake. Second of all, admit that anyone was in danger, because that's just like unfathomable. And appearances are everything. You don't want to incite panic. And that this book gave a really good insight. One last thing on Wreck of the Titan that I forgot to mention. Since the story is so short, it's usually published with another, or at least all of the editions that I've looked at, the story has been published with other stories by Morgan Robertson. This one had 4 other ones. They were all focusing on the ocean, on ships. One of them was focused on a submarine, which was cool. I liked that one. Another one was called The Pirates. I really liked that one. It was long, but it was really funny and good. I loved it. Yeah. And so I highly recommend this book, Voyagers of the Titanic, and Titanic lover ever. I am Titanic obsessed. I loved them. This one took a little while, but I read them both within a month, on top of all of the other books that I read. But they were so good. Highly recommend. Definitely check them out. Alright. Thank you all for watching this like rant and weirdness and pajama face. I really, really appreciate all of the views, the subscriptions, the comments, whatever. I super, super appreciate it. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you